Joke about it. No jokes on it.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started here in just 1 minute as soon as we get everyone else let into the space. Apologize for that. All right, everybody, you ready? Holly, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the St. Louis Voices Public Hearing and Board Interview with the Missouri Charter Public School Commission. Thank you for joining us this evening as we hear from school leadership about the public about opening Voices Charter School. My name is Martha McGeehan, and I am the Deputy Director at the Commission and will be serving as the moderator this evening. We'll begin with hearing comments and welcoming remarks and a brief presentation from the Voices team. Then we'll turn to hearing from the public. If you did not sign up to speak this evening but would like to provide public comment, feel free to place them in the chat or email info@mcpsc.mo.gov. At 6:25, we'll finish taking public comment and take a small break and resume with the board interview. Please note, for those of you that signed up for public comment, when it's your opportunity to provide comment, I will introduce and unmute your microphone. I'd now like to introduce Susan Cole, Chair of the Missouri Charter Public School Commission.
Good evening, everybody. We're up here in this little yellow box on the upper left. That is the entire commission, minus just one person tonight, and we're all up here to hear your comments. I'm going to ask them to go around and say their names and where they're from, because we're coming to you from St. Louis, but I'm the only person that actually lives here except for staff people. So we'll begin over here with Mary Jane.
Mary Jane Armando, Steve Gerardo. Peggy Taylor, Nixa.
Delbert Scott from Lowry City.
Antoine Lee from Kansas City.
Kathy Jill Boyd from Carthage, Missouri.
We're going to spend all of the time allotted here listening to you. And that's the whole purpose of this first 45, 50 minutes or so. So you heard the rules of the game from Martha, and I'm going to turn it over at this point to Holly to begin the question period.
All right.
A presentation, Holly, right? First.
Right. I need permission to share my screen.
Can do. Hold on just a second. Let me make you.
Excuse me.
Okay, you should. Do you have? Oh, hold on. Yes. All right. Do you now have permission?
No, it says it's disabled. Hold on.
There we go. We can see it now. Holly, you're muted. All I can do is ask her to unmute.
Holly, can you unmute, please?
Holly, we had your screen.
Okay, hold on. I need to make an adjustment real quick.
Your notes.
Okay, I'm sorry, just a second, please.
Open speaker notes. Okay, move that back over and. You're there.
All right, good evening, and thank you all for being here to show your support for St. Louis Voices Academy of Media Arts. Over the next approximately 10 to 15 minutes, I'd like to share with you my personal story and the story of St. Louis Voices Academy of Media Arts. Before I jump into this presentation, I'd like to start by sharing a little bit about myself. From Lowell Elementary to Beaumont High School, from O'Fallon Park to Grand Water Tower, I call North St. Louis home. So when I talk about designing an equitable and world-class school for our community, note that this is very personal for me. I am Dr. Holly Russell West, founder of St. Louis Voices Academy. And today, instead of standing outside of my story and hustling to prove I'm worthy, I choose to tell my story. Being a teen parent, I always had an overwhelming obligation to prove that I was not just another statistic. I knew that education was my ticket to a better life for my daughter and me. And after receiving my bachelor's degree, I went on to earn 4 advanced degrees on my way to becoming Dr. Holly Russell West. I share these pictures of my children and my grandchildren because they keep me anchored and remain my driving force. With every decision I made as a teacher and school leader, I always centered my children and grandchildren. My oldest granddaughter was a student at my previous school, and my oldest grandson will enroll in St. Louis Voices Academy. What I recognize is that the school that I led for my granddaughter is not the same school I must create for my grandson. For over 2 decades, I have been committed to serving families in St. Louis public schools. In my most recent role as principal at Siegel Elementary, I work with an amazing team to improve outcomes for our students, leading us to outpace the state in growth in English language arts and math. And with all the great work we did to improve culture and academics, our children needed more. Over a year ago, I began this journey to discover what more meant for educating today's children for a world that doesn't exist. Now that you know a little bit about me, I'd like to share this co-created vision and design for St. Louis Voices Academy of Media Arts. And speaking with families about designing St. Louis Voices Academy, the sentiments and aspirations echoed were for a holistic approach to preparing children for life. As I move through this presentation, I will cover 4 major headlines: why we need to exist, who we are, what we will achieve, and how our school model leads us to success. We have an incredible challenge to overcome in changing the educational landscape in St. Louis. The narratives of public education here are not unique, but the stories yield promise of what is possible in education. It is through innovation that we change the trajectory of our children's future, thereby changing the narrative of our schools. Change and innovation are inevitable, as access and opportunities for Black children is disparaging, especially in North St. Louis. As the data illustrates, Black children are less likely to be enrolled in high-performing schools and less likely to be learning what they need. In North St. Louis, this is exacerbated by the void of innovative, high-quality options to serve students who still live there. Without addressing these inequalities, our students and our schools will continue to struggle, and we will continue to be plagued by the narratives of our schools. And while there's been an exodus from the city, especially in North St. Louis City, there are families that still live there. We visited over 20 daycares with more than 300 4 to 5-year-olds in our target zip codes, where options for high quality seats are not present. And while we often say that zip code should not determine destiny, that is not our reality. I am a witness that the life in St. Louis is no small obstacle for students to overcome. We know that there are exceptions for individual success stories. However, this cannot be our legacy. Because of this, St. Louis Voices Academy seeks to provide high-quality seats to our students who live in St. Louis City, especially North St. Louis City. So I just shared with you why we need great schools in our community. Now I'd like to share why we need a media and storytelling school. In The Danger of a Single Story, Adichie states, like our economic and political worlds, stories are defined by power. How stories are told, who tells stories, when they're told, and how many stories are told are dependent on power. Power is the ability not just to tell the story of another person, but to make it the definitive story of that person. Our children are inundated with stories, and with the changing social landscape, media has become one of the most significant resources for our students that provides insight into the world around them and allows them to participate in social networks, creatively express themselves, and advocate for change. When we think about equity, we must also consider the amount of information accessible to our children, the tools they need to analyze and use this information, and the agency they have to uplift diverse stories of themselves and their community. As we know, stories shape the world, and rarely are young children prepared to tell those stories. At St. Louis Voices Academies, with St. Louis Voices Academy Story Center Design, students are equipped with the academic prowess to take back power in our communities as they author their own stories. We knew our response to the challenges in our work to design a different kind of school had to include the voices of our families. We began this co-design work by speaking with over 75 families and capturing their aspirations. The themes that emerged are highlighted in the gray boxes. The core of our school design responds to these aspirations by providing a learning environment that nurtures curiosity, connection, and deep understanding, empowers students to advocate for themselves, allows students to access, critically evaluate, and create content, and allows students to take increasing ownership of their learning. Our students have goals to raise and expectations to exceed. It starts with a school like St. Louis Voices Academy, where what we want our students to achieve goes beyond performance on assessments. We thought about the characteristics and habits that ultimately lead to success. And we see our students developing into self-directed scholars, powerful communicators, effective collaborators, and compassionate change makers. I like to spend the rest of the time painting a picture of the St. Louis Voices Academy model. As we thought about the graduate aims and using the power of stories to create change, 4 key design elements surfaced: media and storytelling, whole child development, real world inquiry, and progressive learner autonomy. We will talk more about these elements in the next few slides. The cornerstone of our model is media and storytelling. Media and storytelling grew out of our guiding belief that stories shape and advance culture. In media arts, students learn the foundations of media literacy and production. In social studies and content-based literacy, students examine stories and culture to develop their own stories. And during Infusion Lab, students prepare media projects that they will present to their families and school community. Our focus on real-world inquiry is grounded in our guiding beliefs that students learn by doing. The primary way we approach inquiry is through social studies and science. Our curriculum for these subjects are inquiry-based to ensure that our students consistently approach topics with big questions and opportunities to research and collaborate to find answers as the basis to develop powerful stories. Our third key design element is whole child development, which speaks to our belief that collaboration binds our community. In order for students to participate in meaningful collaboration, they must know who they are, how to interact with others, and how to use their stories to advocate for themselves and uplift the stories of others. We approach whole child development throughout the course of the school day. We focus on how our school culture creates a sense of belonging, how we develop our students' voices, and opportunities we provide for our students to practice and make mistakes. During class meetings, students discuss and role play how behaviors look. They practice them throughout the day. And at the end of the day, during closing circles, students have time for reflection and opportunities to set priorities and goals for the next day. Our fourth key design element is progressive learner autonomy. This design element grew out of our belief that every child's learning journey is unique. Providing learners with autonomy creates self-efficacy and confidence in their ability to navigate different learning environments and subjects. The main way that this element lives in our school day is through our individualized learning plans. Through these plans, all students are empowered to take control of their learning goals and their approach to meeting them. For kindergarten students, the ILP is mainly guided by the teacher with a narrow list of options from which students can choose. And by 5th grade, students understand their data and take the lead on developing their learning plans. In this presentation, I know I quickly talked about the why, who, what, and how. And as I wrap up, I'd like to share with you what's on the horizon for St. Louis Voices Academy. Over the next few months, we will ramp up our efforts around student recruitment, staffing, facilities, and coalition building. I'd like to thank you again for your time, and now I'll turn this back over to our facilitator.
Thank you, Holly. As a reminder, for the public comment portion of the evening, we ask each speaker to keep their comments to 2 minutes, as we have a pretty long list of speakers we'd like to talk. And now at this time, I would like to welcome Alderman Collins Mohammed to provide public comments. If you can take yourself off of mute.
Awesome. Can everybody hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I want to thank Ms. Holly Russell West for her wonderful presentation. And as the Alderman of the 21st Ward, as this community's representative, I wholeheartedly welcome this new school to our community. We all know that St. Louis Public Schools is failing. We all know that our parents want school choice and they want an alternative to St. Louis Public Schools. And I understand that more than anyone. Fortunately for me, I have a family that was able to send me to private schools because they know that our public school system is failing. But our families in the ward that I represent are not that fortunate. And they should not be subjected to sending their kids to failing schools. And if we open up this school, and if we truly invest in it, I guarantee that this will be a game changer for the community that I represent. I am so honored that Ms. Holly chose the 21st Ward to start this new venture because we absolutely need it. And when I say all this, I don't mean to be callous because I truly believe in public education as well. But public education should not be the only choice for North St. Louis. It should not be the only choice for the community that I love and grew up in. I am so excited about this and I look forward to this conversation moving forward. And I cannot wait to see this school open in North St. Louis. Thank you so much. I will not belabor this any longer. I'm sure you guys know that I support this 1000%. Thank you so much, Ms. Holly. And I thank this commission for the work it does in involving and progressing education. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Next, we'll have Senator Nasheed, and I believe the two of you were together. Yeah. Where'd she go?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good. First and foremost, I would like to thank Holly for her great presentation and thank each and every one of you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to support Holly's effort to bring a charter school to the 21st Ward. I lived in the 21st Ward for approximately 7 years. I was a committee woman over there. I know what's needed in the 21st Ward here in the city of St. Louis. We have children that are literally graduating from the kindergarten to the 12th grade, not knowing how to read on the 3rd grade level within the traditional schools. We know that if we don't educate our children, we're going to incarcerate them. There's no in between. We have children who are picking up guns other than picking up hammers or books. So it's very, very important to be able to allow for children to have that choice. Parents should not be subjected to sending their children to schools like Yateman, where proficiency rate is at 12 to 20%. You know, I think that every parent deserves a choice when it comes to their children's education. And that's why I'm here today, to ask each and every one of you on the board to give our African-American children an opportunity in the 21st Ward to choose where they want to be able to be educated. Quality education is a must. That is the greatest equalizer. If we want to reduce crime in the city of St. Louis, we have to perform in a way that we have never performed before when it comes to education. If we want people to come back into the city, they want to be able to understand it. They want to be able to know that they have choices. And that's why I'm here today asking that you all allow for us to have a quality education in the 21st Ward.
Thank you, Senator.
If you have any questions, I'll take questions. If not, thanks for giving me the opportunity. Again, Holly, thank you for raising your hand and saying, yes, I do want to be a part of change here in the city of St. Louis when it comes to quality education.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Pastor White.
All right, thank you all. Let me try to get this together. Okay. Well, thank you all for giving us the opportunity. I just want to piggyback on what Senator Nasheed and Representative Muhammad spoke up on. Lifelong resident of the city of St. Louis, a product of the village, a product of a community coming together to get the best out of a young man that was homeless, mother was on drugs, and wasn't afforded the opportunity that I believe this generation of youth can have. When Dr. Russell came to me with this idea, I told her that I would put every aspect, every resource I have behind this effort, because when we think about Brown versus the Board of Education in 1951, when I believe it was Oliver Brown's daughter was not allowed to go to a school closest to her, she had to be bused. And in our community right now, where every other corner has a vacant building, has a drug dealer or prostitute, we have to give our children more choices. We have to give these families more choices. Life is about the choices that are available to us and afforded to us. And with the failures of our school systems, any other opportunity that will give them a better chance at life, we have to put all of our resources behind it. Not saying that every charter school is successful, but why not have another opportunity? And so when there's backlash or when there's opportunity that says they don't want these schools, I'm excited to hear that Representative Muhammad and Senator Nasheed is behind these efforts, because we have got to give these students, these parents, these children more opportunities to be successful. I believe it was Malcolm that says that education is the passport to the future. And so we have to give our children, our youth, our next generation a better opportunity to reach that future of promise. And so with this charter school, with this opportunity for direct learning, with this opportunity for hands-on learning, and actually breaking the status quo. St. Louis Public School has had their hand in the bucket for far too long to not be successful. And so maybe if we shift things and give us a game changer with this charter school that Dr. West is trying to do, I believe it will afford more opportunities for the Robert Whites of the world, the Jamila Nasheeds of the world to come out of the inner city and have a chance at life. So I encourage everyone who has a voice, everyone who has a vote that can push this effort through to do so unequivocally so that we can be successful. So I thank you guys. And if there's anything that myself or my church or the community that I support can do to help this effort, we're behind it 1000%. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Tanisha Hampton. Back to Ms. Hampton. Richard Sheeran.
Good evening, everyone. I am here, like many of you, to support and speak on behalf of St. Louis Voices Academy. I come to you as an 18-year educator in the public school system and a colleague of Dr. Russell West and an advocate for school choice. And so, like many have said, we know there is improvement to go around in public education overall. And what I would like to advocate is on behalf of families who have the right to make their decision, choose where they would like to send their children. And I 100% stand behind Dr. Russell West's model as another high quality option that is stewarded and created specifically to serve the community that her doors will open in. And so with that level of intention, careful planning, I've had the privilege of being around Dr. Russell West as she planned and worked and researched and put her blood, sweat, and tears into building St. Louis Voices Academy. And so again, as an 18-year educator and a colleague and admirer of Dr. Russell West, I am here in support of St. Louis Voices Academy and just proud to be here this evening to speak up and lend my voice to this public hearing. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate that. And congratulations, Dr. Russell West and her board who worked so hard to get to this point. And I am proud to be an ally and be here to assist you in any way, shape, or form moving forward.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Stacy Vernon.
Okay, hey, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to talk specifically about two things. First, Dr. Holly Russell West, and as well as specifically about the benefits of the St. Louis Voices Academy of Media Arts. I've known Dr. West for a few years. I know that she's a great leader. She's trying to be an innovator. She's a very caring person. I've watched her plan, go back and forth, iterate, propose new ideas, make changes, be very stressed out. But one thing I can tell you is that Holly has been excellent at asking for help. And she's been listening to the community. She's been talking to the parents, wanting to include the families in this project because she cares about St. Louis. Dr. Holly Russell West is St. Louis. And the passion that she has about the school districts and about these children is what our students need. Dr. Russell West is very successful and she's a very good leader. And if someone like her is not afforded the opportunity to be able to have those ideas facilitated by you all, then we'll have less success. I spent a lot of time working with students in the St. Louis Public School District, some charter schools. And one thing that our students are missing is their ability to have their voices elevated. Our students are not heard. And that leads to a lot of rage that does not help them when it comes to increasing their literacy. And we want our students to be able to have the best communication skills available, not only so they can communicate for success, but also so that they're able to communicate themselves out of danger. And Dr. Holly Russell West is focusing on this media and art school because the critical and engaging pedagogy that she's trying to implement is very important to the students. And it's empowering, not only for their freedom, but also for their literacy. And it's going to help them to connect, to be able to participate in civic engagement. And Dr. West is bringing all of us together to be able to solve these problems. She wholeheartedly has my support, and I ask you to do more than consider Dr. West's proposal, but support her in her entirety. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Ryan Smith.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I've been having some difficulties here. I'll keep this really brief. I've heard so many great voices speaking on behalf of Dr. Russell West in this effort that is truly needed in our streets, in our communities, in our families, to create a better future for the people that we give our all for. I am a proud and true St. Louis native who has actually experienced both sides, going to school in my neighborhood as well as being bused in what was then called the DSAVE program. There's so many difficulties that come along with having to get up extra early to try to ride a bus for an hour to get to a school in order to try to operate in the same fashion as those that live in their neighborhoods. It is really needed for us to be able to cater to the differences that come within our communities and in our families. Not all of our babies are athletes. Not all of our babies test well, but all of our babies need. And to provide a safe haven, a school, somewhere where they can learn their greatness, as well as have those greatnesses cultivated, is something that I believe, after talking to Dr. Russell West, this school can provide. I have a motto that says basically this: not all Band-Aids fit all cuts, which basically means, we can't have one solution for all things. Dr. Russell West, I really appreciate what you're doing. You have my support, both as a voice and physically. I'll show up in those spaces. If, once you get that building, I don't mind, I'll put some things down and really putting the dirty work in. And I really hope that that this does not get support just from the people on here, but from the community that it will definitely serve and need in order for it to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Tommy Tucker.
How's everybody doing? I hope great. Hey, buddy, come here. I'm about to introduce y'all to the reason that we have meetings like this, because I feel like it's very important that he be seen and he be heard in terms of what his ideals are and the things that are important to him. Hurry up. I'm calling you because the Wi-Fi code changed. You ran in here. Say hi. Hi to everybody. Go back. So, who is that? It doesn't matter who it is. So I brought him for the reason that I'm about to explain. And that reason is my son is playing his game and obviously doesn't like to be bothered while he's playing his game. But the generation of kids that we're discussing today that will go to this school are kids that have now been affected by virtual learning or / homeschooling or gamers. This generation of kids has less communication with each other than ever before. And so as a proud Sumner High School graduate, I lived in the district where Sumner was, and I walked to school. What I learned from walking to school or going to my neighborhood school is that you form alliances with people in the neighborhood. The schools in your neighborhood are a reflection of your neighborhood. The reason why we have so many problems with crime is because these kids don't know each other, because the school in their neighborhood is not sufficing their educational or academic prowess. They are in a position where they're not getting fed academically at school. And so because of that, we're shipping kids out of the neighborhood. So now you got kids who stay 3 doors down from each other, like my son Tyson and a kid Courtney that lives right across the street, that really don't know each other because they stay in the house now. They don't go out and play as much as they used to, and nobody's walking to school together. This school should be exactly what everybody here has talked about, and that is an oasis of neighborhoods. The neighborhood, the 21st ward, that 21st ward is exactly what it should be a reflection of. Having the ability to go to school in my neighborhood where I get to meet the people that are just like me, that stay right by me, so that I can love and cultivate those relationships with those people and be educated at the same time, not get a subpar education as a lot of our students are doing in SLPS right now. I don't think that it's all on the teachers in SLPS. I think it has something to do with the parents too. However, I am anticipating this school opening because I believe it is going to be an environment where kids will get to go to school in the neighborhood again, and in the neighborhood be fed. The relationships will grow, crime will come down. It is very important that we open this school for that reason, for me and for Tyson, who you all just got to meet. I think my 2 minutes probably up. I don't want to go too long.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Iris Fitzpatrick.
Hello everyone. My name is Iris. I'm here to kind of, I guess, give my opinion on why I think the school would be a good fit. My daughter right now is currently 4. She'll be 5 actually this upcoming Sunday, and she is very outspoken, very. She's better with anything with media more than I am, and kind of like I'm only 26. So as far as growing up, we kind of, like Tommy said, everybody in our neighborhood, we all knew each other. We walked to school. We didn't have phones like as they do now. Social media wasn't as big as it is now. So especially in St. Louis communities, they know social media. They know video games. They understand, violence and the bad things around them because that's what they see, So for it to open up a school where they are able to use these same things in a more positive light, especially with my kid, because I'm a firm believer in it starts when they are younger, like to show them different. So when they get older, they already know how to, navigate through life and things. And it definitely is more important when starting in school. Some kids are not, like they said, not the best with being athletes, or they're not the best learners, but if they could learn to do things differently through media, they can learn to do things we were not taught. Like high school for me did not prepare me enough for the real world. I didn't know what to do when I went to an interview. We didn't know too much about credit. We didn't know what life was to expect as getting older. And now we are introduced to so many new things. With media, you can learn so much. So to introduce these kids to this young, to start them off earlier, they'll be 10 steps ahead of the rest of the world. They will become the next leaders because they will already be knowledgeable of so many things that we barely get as adults. So I'm definitely supportive of the school. I can't wait for my daughter to start. I think she will definitely love it, and I'm excited.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Tiffany Harris.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I am here because as an educator, I believe that this school will be awesome for our children who sometimes aren't able to express themselves in the traditional school setting. Being able to use the tools and things that they know in this time and age to help them to express themselves will be very important to them. I know for my daughter alone, who did the bridge to program with Holly Russell, art is her thing. So she used art to express herself, and she found that it was a way for her to get out what she needed to get out. So I am a big proponent for the school opening. I'm about to retire in 5 years, so I'm looking forward to even joining Holly West in her endeavors. I also have a 2-year-old who I know by the time that her school is open, in a couple of years, he'll be ready to go there as well. So I say, yeah, let's open it up.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Ralph Mason.
Can you hear me and see me?
Yes.
You can't see me and hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, there it is. There it is. I'm gonna be like Elizabeth Taylor's seventh husband, not long at all. Yeah. I first want to start out by saying thank you guys for this great opportunity. I'm gonna make it real quick. I have been knowing Dr. West for many years. I am Ralph Edgar Mason, the president and CEO of the Positive Zone Corporation, tpzc.org. That's Tom, Peter, Zebra Corporation, the Positive Zone Corporation. And for the last 25 years, I have traveled all over the world, working with millions of kids all over the world. You can check out the website and check out, there's Google Ralph Mason, and you will see me all over there. And I've done a lot of work with Dr. West. And so while traveling, it's one thing to say what is going on in St. Louis, but when you go outside of St. Louis, you see things from a different perspective. And so one of the things that I've learned is and I'm almost done, that Dr. Holly there are two forms of leadership. The first leadership, the lowest level leadership, is position. And a lot of times when you are a leader, people just respect you because of your position. But the highest level of leadership is pinnacle. It's pinnacle leadership. And that is exactly what I know for a fact that this school will have, pinnacle leadership. As you know, leadership is everything. You can have a lot of money and have bad leadership and it don't work. So I say that I endorse Dr. West because she is a pinnacle leader. I endorse it and 100% know for a fact that she's going to exemplify. She has supported me. And as a motivational speaker, it's sometimes hard to get jobs in schools, but Dr. West was very, very instrumental in helping me to complete a 40 school tour. And kudos to you. Thank you, because I needed that money because I have a family too, and I had some rent that was due. And Dr. Holly West came through to assist me in that endeavors. But again, I say I support her 100%. Thank you guys for this opportunity. And remember, the lowest level of leadership is position. Everybody's on position. Who has this position? Who has this title? But the highest level of leadership is pinnacle, when people respect who you are and what you do. Thank you. Kudos to this team. And I know for a fact that Dr. West, once you get to school, don't forget about me.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Mr. and Mrs. Alexander.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, we are Mr. and Mrs. Alexander, residents of the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood. And we just have this statement to make. We highly respect the work that Dr. Russell West has done and the opinions and support shared this evening, but we disagree with the opening of St. Louis Voices Academy of Media Arts Charter School because it would take away from the schools we already have. We don't need any more performing arts in the city, performing arts schools in the city. Charter schools have squeezed the financial life out of traditional public schools and should not replace neighborhood public schools. Choice is important, but it is also important to know that advocates for our traditional neighborhood public schools have been asking for high quality education for our Black children in the city for decades. However, politics, inadequate leadership, inadequate funding, lack of resources, and other factors have impeded that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Angela Long.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my camera's off because I'm driving to another meeting. But I wanted to add that I'm an educator who has recently left the public school system because of the frustration of what is occurring. And I just want to say firsthand, as an educator and as a parent who has children who, you know, attend the schools that are in these city neighborhoods, that even though there may be art schools in the city and science schools in the city, the instruction that they were meant to provide is not being provided. It's not being provided, and we need an alternative. I mean, I'm a parent who I can advocate for my kids. I can move to a different neighborhood. I can you know, help to provide a different type of educational atmosphere for my kids. But what I'm concerned about are kids whose parents are not able to do so. And that would be, you know, many kids that are in the very area that Dr. Russell is opening her school. I was one of those kids whose parents was not as active in school. And if I didn't have the support of the educators that, you know, cared enough about me to help me to be able to believe in myself, to know that I was intelligent, and help me beyond what my parents could, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I would say, as an educator and as a parent, it is critical. It is critical at this very point with everything that's going on. It's critical for a school like Dr. Russell's to open, because our kids are being let down. And something has to be done now, or the crisis that we're in is just only going to be exasperated. So that's all I'd like to share.
Thank you. Next, Tanisha Hampton, are you here now? Tanisha Hampton, would you like to share? Right. Crystal Harrell, apologies if I mispronounced your last name. Crystal Harrell.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Okay, good evening. And that was Harold, you pronounced it right. I previously worked with Dr. West at the St. Louis Public School District at Siegel Elementary. There, I was able to, through her leadership, improve my instructional practices through data meetings. She helped me with data analysis and understanding how data guides your instruction. She helped me with my lesson planning and meeting students where they were and scaffolding. Those are some of the skills that I use today. I'm now a teacher in Hazelwood. I also had the opportunity to work with her through the summer pilot that she did at Matthew Dickey's Boys and Girls Club. We worked with students ages 5 to 12. I specifically worked with students 5 to 7 on media and storytelling. So what I noticed during that summer was that students had struggles with writing due to the face-to-face instruction, the loss of the face-to-face instruction with the pandemic. But over the week that we did that, students were engaged, they were able to produce their stories. And so I got from that students have a natural ability to tell stories. I think the charter is needed to help to help students with that voice, help them build that voice. And based on my work with the summer pilot and with helping with curriculum, the math curriculum, I think the charter would be an awesome choice for students who live in the North St. Louis area to help build that strong foundation on reading skills and help with those gaps that students have. I support Dr. West and the endeavor of her charter and hope to work with her soon.
Thank you. Sharonda White. You on the call. Sharonda White. I made a couple. Oh, I got people. Yep. Jerica Billingsley. John Potter. And the last person on my list is Amber Booker. Okay, at this time, we will take a short break and come back for the board interview at.
Hello?
Yes, sorry.
I apologize. I had put my name down on the email. I'm sorry if it didn't get registered somehow. May I speak?
Sure, we have everyone's 2 minutes, please, and then.
Great. My name is Chester Asher, starting Ali Academy in South City. The way I talk about schools in South City, and she said,
"Make sure of that."
And she said, "What about the kids in North City? What school are they going to?" When I hear people talking about not opening up another charter school, particularly in North City, I'm like, have you been to the schools in North City? Have you seen the reading rates in North City? Are you going to send your child willingly to some of those schools in North City? Dr. West is from that area. She went to the schools there. She taught there. And now she's using her voice to say, I need a better option for my children. Because the state of the conditions, the low level of performance currently in those schools is not okay. And when I told her I'm starting school in South City, she said, what about those families? Where are they gonna go? What are they gonna do? I said, but the demographic shifts and populations moving to the South. She's like, yeah, but what about those families left in the North? And she's using her voice, says, you know what, I'm gonna speak up for those families because their families suffering. There are generations of kids who are going to suffer currently under the weight of the underperformance of those schools. And they can't wait for the city schools to get it together. They can't wait a year or 2 years, another 5 or 10 years for the city to put together a plan. Dr. West has a plan, and it's called Voices Leadership Academy, and it needs to open up. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now at 6:25 and we need to take a break before the board interview. If you would like to give additional public comments, you can email the commission at info@mcpsc.mo.gov.
Can you hear me?
Or enter into.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my name is John Potter and you called on me a few minutes ago, but for some reason I couldn't get through.
Oh, I apologize.
No, that's no problem, but I felt this is so important that I wanted to speak. I just wanted to say that I support the sponsorship of the St. Louis Voices Academy of Media Arts Charter School. The children of St. Louis deserve this educational experience. I was an educator for 40 years. I continued working past my retirement date because I was working at Siegel with Dr. Holly West. What a wonderful leader. Every day was wonderful. She's an exceptional leader. She is a caring, organized, innovative, and an excellent presenter for teachers during professional development. The support and care that she exhibited to her family to her faculty was amazing. We were a family. Her ability to lead and guide her faculty and staff was outstanding. Her goal, in which she succeeded, was to have a cohesive staff. And did she have a cohesive staff? The students were her number one priority. She made sure all students could learn and progress. Dr. West was innovative and a creative leader. She always tried to implement new methods for learning. Dr. West had an open door policy for her parents, for students, and faculty. She always was available to assist others. I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to speak today, because with her as your leader, you are going to have one of the best schools in North City. And I too am retired, but she keeps my hand in it, and I definitely want to provide service to her school. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And at this time, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll come back at 6:35 for the board interview with the
They wanted to talk. Who's Evelyn?
Welcome back, everyone. Just a reminder that we are recording this and are live on Facebook. I will now turn it over to Susan Cole. Sorry. I think they're here somewhere, so they'll, once they talk, they'll rearrange themselves. Yeah, so there's just extra people still on. So I will turn over to Susan Cole, the chair of the Missouri Charter Public School Commission.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Sorry for the late delay. We had lots of folks wanted to talk about this school, and we tried to listen to everyone that we possibly could. I'm going to go around the room quickly here so your board can get to know at least the faces that are going to be asking you the questions tonight. So I'll start over here with
Mary Jane Almandos, Cape Girardeau. Peggy Taylor, Nixa.
Delbert Scott, Lowry City.
Antoine Lee, Kansas City.
Kathy Jo Boyd, Carthage.
I'm Susan Cole, and I'm here in St. Louis with all my colleagues, including the staff of the commission. So you have all of us, except for perhaps one who might join us a little bit from Kansas City on the cell phone. The procedure tonight is that we, as commission, we're thinking about all the things we just heard, thinking about all the reading we've done about your school, and the questions that we want to ask you this evening before we have our meeting tomorrow, make some very important decisions. So with that, Latoya, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. It's Latanya.
Latanya,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes, ma'am. No worries. Yes. Well, good evening to everyone on the call. I'd like to thank the commission for this opportunity and your time, but the opportunity to do number one, present our case for why we believe that St. Louis Voices Academy is not only a good choice, but an excellent choice for sponsorship and partnership. And then number two, you've heard it all tonight. And I think it's worth repeating. We want to show our support, our undying and 100% support for Dr. Holly Russell West, who you've heard is a dynamic leader who is in and of this community. She has not only lived in the zip code 63107 O'Fallon Park neighborhood, in which we're talking about, she's also matriculated through the school district. And through a time of this, facing all these challenges, she's not looking to flee. She's looking to offer a solution in the community in which she loves. We find this admirable, and we want to thank Dr. West before we move forward. So without any further ado, I'd like the board to introduce themselves, and I'll start with me. My name is Latanya Jackson. I am a community lending officer at Bank of America. I specialize in offering high quality mortgage products in marginalized communities. Sort of like the community that we're talking about today, much like the community that we're talking about today, that was traditionally and historically not have had access to high quality lending. As a matter of fact, only predatory lending. In addition, I bring to the table 20 years of not-for-profit work experience, advocacy, community organization. I have had the opportunity to be deputy campaign manager for 2 political campaigns. I volunteered in 2020 alone over 130 hours teaching and serving on not-for-profit boards. I am also a fellow of the UMSU Neighborhood Leadership Program, and I'm here tonight more personally representing the 10-year-old self whose family was seeking a high-quality education, who grew up in 63107, O'Fallon Park neighborhood. I was bused out an hour away for a high-quality education. Now, I could list a number of things, number of great things that came out of this experience, but imagine what I missed not being able to attend a high-quality school in my community. I would also like to introduce or talk about another board member in her absence, Dr. Evelyn Woods, who wasn't able to be here, but she brings to the table over 20 years of public school education, teaching, and in leadership. She's now serving as an executive in HR in the Hazelwood School District, and she is also committed to this community in support of Dr. West. And at this time, I yield the floor to Edie for introductions.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for hosting us tonight. My name's Edie Barnard, and I am the Director of Communications and Development at the Missouri Charter Public School Association. I started my career in video production as a writer and a producer, and then eventually moved on to academia, where I served as an associate professor for more than 25 years at Lindenwood University, and also taught adjunct for Webster University and the St. Louis Community College system. At those universities, I taught media literacy, and it really became my passion. I eventually founded a nonprofit called the Midwest Center for Media Literacy that worked out of the University of Missouri St. Louis, where we developed programming aimed at educating students and teachers about media literacy education and integrating some of the core concepts into traditional curriculum. I met Holly through my work at the Charter Association, and I was both thrilled to learn about St. Louis Voices and also incredibly impressed by the school design. Having a school with a focus on media literacy education, I honestly can't think of something more important, and it's never been more important than it is today. And I'm honored to be one of the founding board members. Thank you.
Art, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name is Art Silverblatt, and I'm an emeritus professor at Webster University, where I taught for 36 years. I was chair of the department there for 16 years. My area of focus has been media literacy. I've written 6 books and numerous articles on the subject. It's an area that I'm passionate about, and thrilled that I can be working with Holly and this group to be developing a school that is revolving around the notion of media literacy. Media literacy is a critical thinking skill that's applied to the source of most of our information, that being the media, giving people the skills to make sense of the information that's being presented. This is, we found that as a critical thinking skill, media literacy, in fact, enhances critical thinking in other areas as well. So it's the value of this as an educational tool is very, very important. And again, I'm very excited to be a partner in this, in the project.
Sorry. So Latanya, you're on mute.
Deborah, would you like to introduce yourself next, please?
Yes, thank you, Latanya. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for this opportunity this evening to come before you to discuss an amazing opportunity to change the course in the ways that education is delivered to our children, our most precious asset in the city of St. Louis. The St. Louis Voices Academy is the conduit for change to occur. My name is Deborah Ketching-Smith, and I currently have more than 30 years of financial services experiences. I currently serve as the Senior Vice President of Global Consumer Banking, Independent Risk Division of Citibank. Primarily, my role is to confirm that all risk and controls have been identified and cared for to ensure compliance with all federal, state, and regulatory lending requirements prior to granting approval of products to be delivered to the consumer market by Citi. I've leveraged all of my financial services, risk management, and risk governance experience throughout various volunteer roles throughout my journey and giving back to the community, and specifically to the St. Louis community, where I volunteer to teach children in educational classes, elementary school children in the city of St. Louis specifically, about financial literacy, the importance of that, about the financial services industry careers that are available to them, and also in my role as mentors to children in the St. Louis City Public Elementary Schools and to youth at Matthews Dickey Boys and Girls Club. I joined the St. Louis Voices Academy board because it has a dynamic leadership team of like-minded individuals with passion to make a difference in providing innovative, best-in-class learning capabilities to be delivered to our children in the city of St. Louis. I am excited about the opportunity as we forge ahead and working to address the pronounced needs of parents and students in the city of St. Louis about the idea and really the expectation to be provided high quality education. I am more than thrilled to be working alongside Dr. Holly Russell West. Dr. West is a dynamic leader, as you've all heard from the previous comments, who will serve us well as the executive director to lead the path forward through the St. Louis Voices Academy. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you again to the commission, and we welcome your questions and comments.
Thank you very much. We'll start now with our questions.
Who are some of the partners that you will be working with from the media community?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, who are some of the partners that you will be working with from the media community?
I think that it's significant to mention that Art and Edie on our board has a tremendous amount of experience in the field. And I do know that Dr. West has been partnering with local media professionals, such as a journalist and journalist from the St. Louis American. I also know that she's reached out to a news outlet to discuss an opportunity for partnership. I think she also reached out to a journalism school to get some ideas about how they develop their program and design.
Yeah, I've also have an extensive network of media contacts that people I've worked with over the last 35 years. And these are professionals in the field. They taught for me at Webster University in journalism, advertising, public relations, video production, digital communications. And these are all people that share our vision. And I know that they would be more than happy to participate in any way that they can.
And I was just going to back up exactly what Art says. I've worked in the media field for over 30 years, and St. Louis is filled with media professionals that are also very interested in media literacy education. I believe Holly also has had some discussions with Webster University, and Webster University was the first university to offer media literacy education, thanks to Dr. Silverblatt. And so that would also be a very rich relationship.
Could you clarify this to me? Media literacy education. I've heard kind of two ways. Is that a form of learning that you're going to use for these students, or is the end goal for these students to go on into careers in media, or is it a combination of both?
It's really a combination of both. You know, again, it's a three-word definition. It's a critical thinking skill that is applied to the source of most of our information, that being the media. It's in some ways what we're really talking about is very traditional. We're talking about reading and writing, but we're expanding that into the 21st century. The notion of reading and writing, it now applies to media in it that extend beyond print. The idea of reading means understanding the stories that are being told about you, about the students that are going to be involved, you know, and developing the tools to become good storytellers themselves. So much of our culture is being lost because these stories, you know, that's the glue that keeps things together. And frankly, the culture is moving so quickly. Stories that have been told over the media, think of something like the 10 Commandments, which have moved from, you know, the print to film, etc. Kids don't, you know, people in generations to come don't even go to film anymore. These stories have to be told and retold in order to maintain a coherence. It's very important, and it's a mission for people to become good storytellers and also a career.
And I would add to that, that you simply can't be literate in the 21st century without being media literate. I think often I think about, how do we know what we know? How do we know about who we are, about the places that we live, about what we believe, even how we behave? And an inordinate amount of that information comes to us via the media, whether that's music or television or movies or marketing and advertising. It's, we simply are swimming in it to the extent that sometimes I don't even think we notice that it's there, but it's constantly teaching us things. And media literacy allows you to have a healthy, maybe a healthy skepticism, or at least a little bit of a differentiation between yourself and what you're constantly being sold or told. And so media literacy allows, and I've worked with very young kids all the way through college, the opportunity to really look at things through a new lens and think about who's telling this story, why are they telling it, who paid for it, what components are being used in this story to capture my attention, and then how can I use those same tools to have my voice heard, and how can I use the media so that I can break beyond the clutter in some ways and also be able to communicate in that fashion.
Media is taught as a standalone course, but it is also incorporated into established disciplines, language arts, history, health. It can be used and incorporated in such a way to bring things to life. It's a very personal way of learning, because what happens is that students learn about this and then they come home and they see it, they experience it, and they share it with their parents. I know I've got students when they start bringing stuff into class and saying, look what I saw, look what I heard. And then discussions get really interesting about, how this contributes, how this reinforces attitudes and values and behaviors and preoccupations and myths, things that, need to be considered. What we're really talking about is an innovative, in some ways, I think you heard in the previous segment, frustrations with the public school system. When people, sometimes the students go into a classroom and it's like they're walking into the 19th century. It's like a world, that doesn't have media. But what we need to do is understand that being an educated person means understanding your environment, and our environment's being brought to us through and by the media. And so in so many ways it will help us to understand the world that we live in and prepare us to our students to thrive. What we're talking about in some ways is very community driven. What Holly is putting together is an exceptional educational program that is going to bring people to the community. The big reason that people leave communities is because of the lack of faith in in education. They want to make sure that their kids have as good an education as possible. They're going to have an excellent education here. It's going to maintain community, and it's going to bring people to the community. I guarantee.
You mentioned kids walking into educational environments that are outdated, like 19th century is what you said. So that makes me think that you're going to want these students to go into a 21st century educational environment. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so what philanthropic support do you have to ensure that they're going to walk into a 21st century educational environment?
Well, I think there's going to be a shift in the focus of the curriculum, really, as a way, again, expanding this notion of reading and writing. We're going to be the students will be prepared to read the media in addition to print, other media as well, to understand the messages that are being conveyed about themselves and about the world at large. The media often anticipates things that are going on. There are media literacy people have been writing for a number of years about issues related to things like Facebook.
Let me ask you the same question, maybe in a different way. What support do you anticipate from the philanthropic community that's going to assist you in moving into a 21st century educational environment?
Well, I think that what the world is going to need, what the business community is going to value are people who are critical thinkers. People who can learn in a variety of environments, who can expand things, rather than just marking time and getting through a class. The students are going to, it's an exciting prospect. It's a way of learning something about their world. I think that's one of the reasons that it's been discouraging for teachers and students, is that it seems so detached from the world that they really, once they leave school, the world that they live in. And they're going to come back with questions. They're going to come back with articles and video clips and things that they want to discuss and understand. And so it feeds into their curiosity. And I will say also it's an interesting because it brings parents in. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Latanya,
Yes.
Ms. Latanya Jackson and Ms.
Yes.
Deborah Smith.
Yes.
I'd like to hear you try to answer that as well, please.
Sure. So we know. Sure. So we know.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's a great question. We do know that we will have to fundraise, many efforts to fundraise. We do know that we will have to seek funding through grants, and we're prepared to help Dr. West leverage dollars from philanthropic organizations. But we also know that this is where our partnerships in the community really mean the most, because it may not be money that we need as a resource. We may need resource in terms of venues, equipment, or other things that our community organizations can offer us to help get to the 21st century environment that Art is speaking of.
Yes, and this is Deborah Ketching-Smith. Just to add to along those lines, we have already identified potential fundraising sources. Those are mapped out in our actual proposal. And definitely Dr. West has done an excellent job in spreading the good news and the message around St. Louis Voices Academy. The community is very excited and eager to partner with the school on a number of varieties. Some of them are, in-kind donations and partnerships, which are also needed, not just financial, resources in order to be successful.
I think that's a good point. And I think I would add in too that media literacy education is a very hot topic right now, as it feeds into citizenship and how we know what we know, how we know who to vote for, all of those things. And so there are many organizations that are excited to be able to fund schools such as this.
Well, I understand why this community is so in desperate need. And I think you guys have given me a good picture of why this media, but how are you going to measure the evidence that this model is working in a school? Because, ultimately we want students to be educated citizens.
Sure, I think our plan for evaluation on the student level is detailed in the application, but it's data driven. It's based on a schedule of evaluation along the way. And it was developed and designed to meet not only the minimum expectations, but also Dr. West has set expectations that's even higher for excellence. And so we will rely on teacher evaluations, executive leadership evaluations, and student evaluations along the way, along a scheduled timeline.
Additionally, I would say, most importantly, we want to hear back from the community. So we will be in constant communications with the parents of our students to get their feedback real time, so that as situations arise scenarios come about that perhaps we did not think about, those can be addressed real time.
And along the same lines, Deborah, we also value the student feedback themselves with the 101 individualized plans, where they will get the opportunity to not only be a part, but to lead in their efforts for excellence in academics. So just having the scheduled conversation with them, maybe on a weekly basis, to talk about, hey, what were the goals and have we achieved them?
You know, some of the work in media is going to be project oriented. As they become storytellers and they become proficient at telling stories using different media, there will be evidence of their learning. And that will be something that can be shared and documented and readily, seems to me.
Have you identified a facility?
Yes, well, I'll field that question. As you probably saw in the application, there have been a number of facilities that we have looked at. Most currently, we're looking at the Antioch Church in the Ville neighborhood as a possibility, and working with IFF on a lease agreement. We want to make sure that that building meets a lot of the building needs that we're looking towards, which is that it's easily accessible, close to other public transportation and public resources. And so right now that one's at the top of the list.
All right, so we understand that there is there's some tension in North St. Louis about certain individuals in the community calling for a moratorium. A moratorium on charter schools. How are you guys responding to that? You as a board, how are you responding to the tension that exists with this discussion around more charter schools? And there's an opinion out there that we don't need anymore. I did hear from the public, but I'd like to hear from you.
This is Deborah. I can tell you it's really a triangled approach with this. We recognize, and you're correct, we're aware of the voices that are in opposition of another private school in the city of St. Louis. However, we look at the data that is readily available. That is an indicator, a huge indicator about the successes of the current environment around public schools in the city of St. Louis. But most importantly, we hear from the parents. The parents are the pinnacle part that matters. The parents are telling us that there is definitely a need for radical change with the educational system in the city of St. Louis. And Dr. Holly has gone out and done a wonderful and amazing job of interfacing with the parents, getting their feedback, their thoughts and their opinions. And actually, because of those efforts over the last several months and years, we were able to design the model that you see today. This is based on direct parent feedback. We're not building something and hoping they will come. We're building a school based on the feedback from our stakeholders, the most important stakeholders in the community, which are parents.
So what does that feedback look like? When you say you have collected that data from the community, in what form, how have you gotten that information from the parents? In what form? How are you recording it?
Sure, there have been direct interviews. There have been open sessions held with parents in the community to gather their feedback. There have been door knocks, if you will, going door to door in the communities that we have targeted where St. Louis Voices Academy will gather its population from. So a number of vehicles have been provided to give opportunity for parents to give their feedback.
I will also add, you said, how will we continue to deal with it going forward? I think we continue to educate. I think we continue to have conversations. I think we continue to knock on doors and sit down in the community to make sure that it is their voice. We know that we will have opposition, but we still know that there is a greater need, and the voices of the community is saying, this is what we want. And I think education and building relationships is what ensure that we can continue to go forth with this great effort in the community.
And I'd sort of like to parrot what one of the earlier speakers said, you know, we don't have time to wait, you know, these kids need a good education, you know, now, and we want to be there to provide an excellent school and a new opportunity and a new option for folks that live in that community.
You know, at the earlier session, one of the parents was saying that the options seem to be leaving or just being stuck with what you've got in a school district that is just not meeting their needs. Well, this is providing another option. You know, there's been some work, as Holly's, you know, she's met with people already who are excited about bringing their kids to this this school. And again, we need to be bringing things to the community. Too much is leaving, and for a resource like this to be part of the opportunity for residents. And again, it's not a tuition-driven project. I mean, what it's community-driven. It's really meant to improve the lives of the residents of the community and enrich the students' educational opportunities.
You have more people that you're planning on bringing onto the board that are kind of already in the works, or I mean, you're kind of a small board right now.
Yeah, you recruiting for your board?
Yes, so we're all making connections through our own personal networks, having conversations such as those that we're having now. As a board, we are in discussion and really taking into consideration what elements of a full board we need. What do we need on the board to fully support Dr. West and St. Louis Voices Academy? And we want to be intentional about how we bring people along the board. And I think it's also significant to note that we are reserving 2 seats for parents of children who are attending the school. So we're not taking board recruitment lightly. It's a very serious matter, but we do have plans.
And I think it's
charter. I apologize. Who said something?
I was just going to say that I thought it would be worth mentioning that, you know, we are a small board at this point, but we've got representation with folks that have experience in media literacy, media production, development, finances, human resources. And so we do know that we need to recruit more members of the board. But I did want to let you know who's at the table right now.
Besides receiving a charter, what do you think stands in the way of you opening up in August of 2022? What do you foresee as some of the biggest obstacles of you opening in next fall? Besides the charter, of course.
So we do know that recruitment of students has to be the priority, and we have to recruit in a number of ways. We have to exhaust every outlet to where we can get the children who are available in a smaller pool. So we know that recruiting children will be important, but that's why Dr. West started with daycare. She's spoken and has introduced the school to over 30 daycares who parents and the leadership at the daycare have been very excited to hear what's coming. And we also know that teacher recruitment to really get this ball rolling, quality teachers that are trained, teachers that are coachable and ready to be ready to teach on day one. We do know that that's a challenge, and we do have strategies to exhaust all possibilities to get the best possible teachers available.
And then I would just add the last, of course, is confirmation of the facility. It would be the last consideration here, and making sure that we can confirm, you know, the location for the facility for the St. Louis Voices Academy, which I do want to restate just for the record and for the audience that are on the line and listening to us. St. Louis Voices Academy is a free charter school. It is a public school. It is not a private school. So I just wanted to clarify that.
What grades do you anticipate opening with in the fall of 2021? Grade levels?
22. Can't hear.
22, yeah.
They couldn't hear you.
We can't hear.
All right, what grade levels are you going to open with?
We're looking to open the first year with 4 kindergarten classrooms and 1 first grade classroom.
Okay. Well, we like quality schools. I think from my standpoint, August of 22 is ambitious because it'll be here day after tomorrow. And it's, I hope it goes well. There's lots of work to be done between now and then to make sure it opens and opens well. So that's the big challenge so far.
You said you had ideas on how to recruit teachers and you had needs, but what are those? Do you have any connections to any kind of teacher universities or anything like that?
Sure. I think Dr. West's experience in relationships and education would be a huge resource for her. She's taught in the St. Louis Public Schools. She has connections to other universities that has education programs. I believe that she's building those relationships to develop a pipeline right now. So I think her relationship and her experience in education will probably be the largest source for pipeline for quality teachers.
And, you know, I know that I'm speaking for Edie, but both Edie and I are both really invested in teacher education in terms of media literacy. We can really help orient people in terms of how to approach this. Media literacy can be taught at a very young age, beginning at a young age. I've done it. And it's an exciting prospect, but we're prepared to work with the teachers in any, will be as helpful as we can be without being intrusive. I guess that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and we also have a plan that, again, is laid out in our application around job fairs, as mentioned earlier, collaboration with universities during college recruitment for jobs. Also for job fairs and other referrals by organizations, virtual recruitment fairs, all of us living in the pandemic environment now. So there are a number of different ideas that we have in our plan in order to execute a wholesome recruitment plan, as well as considering apprentice teachers, those who would serve as instructional aides, to kind of give them a leg up for those who really have the desire to become a certified educator. That is another vehicle to have additional support at the academy. It's also, I'm sorry. It's also, I just wanted to add that it's important to know on our board, Dr. Evelyn Woods her role is currently in education, human resources and education at the school district. And so we would really leverage her expertise in this area to, again, seek and recruit high quality teachers.
She's currently on your board, you say?
Yes, Dr. Evelyn Woods.
Oh, yes, sorry, I remember.
Yes, she had a conflict tonight. She had her own board meeting for her district, so she was not able to attend.
All right.
It's evident that Dr. West is a phenomenal leader with a tremendous amount of experience. And by the fact that she's able to take this on and to come this far, speaks to her character, it speaks to her perseverance and her brilliance. And the community has stated that. You have reinforced that. But as a board, you do know that if she's to be successful, you're going to have to hold her accountable. So how are you going to do that? How are you going to maintain your integrity as a board, even though you have a great deal of respect for her? But when she's successful, she has to be held accountable along with the principal and whoever else is in leadership. How are you guys going to hold your leadership accountable?
Well, one of the things that you have to, we will be doing is you're setting up a dispassionate evaluation system going into the year. That way, there'll be a systematic way to look at, to give Holly a chance to present to us the successes, the directions, and the things that we will need to know. If we set that up in advance, then I think that will make sure it's a professional.
There's a lot of models out there. There's a lot of models out there. My just suggestion that you might investigate those models, the ones that you think might work for you, and then adopt one of those, so that we can have some sort of, accountability track records of data. I got another question for you.
Can I answer? Can I add? I'm sorry, sir. Can I add something to the accountability?
Yes, please.
I can add to that. The other accountability mechanism is that Dr. West will be reporting to the board of directors monthly. We are expecting progress reports of the status of the school environment, the student enrollment, expenses, and such. So that is another mechanism to provide more real-time feedback to Dr. West rather than waiting to an annual review to occur. So she is going to be tracking month over month and hearing back from the board of directors her performance.
And I will add too that there are in the works plans for our board to do some significant professional development with outside organizations to help us build those metrics for evaluation. So we know that.
Have you identified those organizations?
Yeah, Board Training Partners is one of them. And I think some other ones are outlined in the application, but that's the one that comes first to mind when we're talking about stewardship and board responsibilities.
All right, and then did you guys you had a summer pilot, right? Oh, you had a pilot over this summer?
We did.
How did it go? What did you learn from that?
Well, I learned, it was definitely in line in the experience that they've had. It was different from the COVID educational experience that they had. So I'm sure, and I know from talking to Dr. West, that bringing something creative as the pilot that she did it brought joy to the kids. It made the classroom very interactive and engaging. You could tell from some of the products of what they done, the videos and their conversations about it, that it was pretty successful. And the fact that Matthew Dickey's is offering the opportunity for her to come back to maybe do something similar in the future, it says that it was pretty successful. And the idea of something like this coming to the community is welcome.
About 10 minutes left.
About out of time.
About 10 minutes.
We have 5, 6, 7 minutes left here. I have to imagine that you might have some questions for us, or you might think of some way that we can be of assistance to you.
Did you guys hear that?
I think a little bit, it was a kind of an echo. I'm sorry if you could repeat it.
Susan is asking if you have any questions of us, and then she's also asking if we can be of any assistance to you.
Well,
I would say,
yeah.
Go ahead, Art. Go ahead, Art. I'm sorry.
To say that I know that you've had experience working with schools, charter schools from the organizational stage, and I'm certain that that your any feedback from you with regard to things to watch out for, things that we might otherwise miss would be really valued. So I'm very gratified by that question, because to see you guys as a support to the academy is wonderful. You know, it's something where it seems to me we need support from the business community, from the community itself, from you guys. All of that will contribute to the success, and it will. So thank you for that comment. That's wonderful to hear.
Latonya, did you have something?
Sure. We know that the timeline is short. Like you said, it'll be open. The school will open tomorrow. Are there any immediate things that, again, Art said it, that please look out for this first? Like, we've seen this happen. Don't fall into this. If we could have maybe 2 or 3 of those things that we could consider in our plan. We have a plan written, but anything that you might say, hey, people gloss over this, and give us an idea of what we should look for now until opening or beyond.
Okay. Anything else? We hear you.
I would say what has been of the schools that have been approved for charter, what have been some things that have been lessons learned that have reported back to the commission?
So you got to have a strong board, a board that pays attention to what's going on in their area of expertise. You got to do a lot of fundraising, and you got to do a lot of recruiting. And those are all just basics to start out, in addition to a wonderful teaching staff.
Okay.
It's tough work.
Yes. Heavy lifting. We fully recognize it. So thank you for providing that additional perspective.
And then I would say every question that was asked tonight, that you had an answer for, and you had planned to answer it, but you were not able to provide any specifics at this particular time, that means go get those specifics. In other words, some of those partnerships that you know you need to make those partnerships. And then, have those, those need to be certified on board partners that you can then, say that they're your partners. If you have some philanthropic organizations that you're targeting, land those philanthropic organizations. And then when you're asked, then have that as an answer.
That will build immediate support.
Yeah. So the specifics of it, I think the passion is there. Everybody at this table is wishing you well. Everybody at this table understands that you're trying to solve a critical problem. And everybody at this table are advocates for those kids in North St. Louis. So this is about making your board stronger, as Dr. Scott said, and then another thing I might suggest is that, at this critical stage, board members have to be able to make a contribution, more than cheerleading, but with resources.
You can't have too much board training. You're all good at what you do, but you've never been a member of a board like this. But there are people that have, and people that train you to be a better member of a board like this. So while we appreciate your expertise, we want you to be experts at being a board member. You can't have too much training.
So you're really talking about, in some ways, not just teacher education, but board education a little bit. For us to kind of spend a little time thinking about responsibilities and who we need to add, or at least the capacity and things like that. There's a lot of work to do, and there need to be more of us. The good news is that Holly seems to have a real talent for recruiting people who are energetic and commit to something. I don't know You know, I'm relatively new to the committee, and I've just been blown away by her ability to promote the project and to make believers of us. I mean, it's been very inspiring for me.
It's clear that she's a dynamic, wonderful leader. She can't do it by herself,
Yeah.
and neither can you.
Thank you for that. That's a good comment. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think we have run out of time. You have anything else you'd like to say to us, or a question you'd like to ask?
No questions from me, but I would like to thank the commission again and to say that we have heard your recommendations. We plan to fully research, investigate, and get those particulars that you speak of implemented in a plan and commit those to our process going forward. Thank you again.
Thank you all for your time. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.